Yo, what's up, guys? We're getting some drama here in round one. There's drama all over the place. Trae Young talking trash after his floater win, but on Twitter, Donovan Mitchell goes out and says that he wishes he could have been there, and he also wishes he could say more. It's just a really bad look for the Utah Jazz that your star player is sending a cryptic tweet during the playoffs. Like that's not good. And they're the one seed. And, I had Donovan Mitchell at one point on my next superstar who could demand a trade list. We've got Karl Anthony Towns currently on that list. Who else do we have? Bradley Beal on that list. But I went ahead and took Donovan Mitchell off the he could demand a trade list because how can he demand a trade? They're the one seed. They're playing great. Well, now all of a sudden we have a cryptic tweet from Donovan Mitchell saying, I wish I could say more. And reports say he was furious with the Jazz. So if you don't know the entire situation, Donovan has been out since mid-April or kind of late April with a ankle injury. And so, they said, okay, he's not going to come back at the end of the regular season. We're going to wait to the playoffs. And day of, he goes through shoot around. He tweets out, can't wait to see you guys tonight. I'm all in for game one against the Grizz. No pain. I'll see you tonight. I don't see the chat going on. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if the chat is disabled. If so, that was my bad. I didn't mean to. Anyway, so then randomly right before the game, a tweet comes out from Woj saying that Donovan Mitchell will not play. And, there's all sorts of rumors and conspiracy theories going on out there. But one of them is just that the medical staff disagreed and no one wants to piss off the new ownership. And so they held out Donovan because if anything happened, God forbid. It happens all the time with star players who are injured. And normally the star player has the final say, so to speak, and the coach and the medical staff can give their input. But if Kobe or MJ or LeBron or pick whatever star you want, if he pushes to play and says, I will play, so much the fact that he's going to send a cryptic tweet, then the star plays, right? And so that's not the case here with Donovan Mitchell. And look, all of this gets swept under the rug if the Jazz come back and win this series, which I think they will. When you watched the game last night, it was clear that the Grizzlies had played more high-stakes emotional games recently while the Jazz were just sitting back. The Grizz had to beat the Spurs, then beat the Warriors, and they're all up for that game one. I've seen a lot of overreactions from game ones where the lower seed beat the higher seed. And I'm not going to overreact here thinking that the Grizzlies are going to beat the Jazz. I think the Jazz will win. This will all get swept under the rug. But it just shows that not everything is all good within the Utah Jazz and with Donovan Mitchell. We were concerned when Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert had their beef, during the COVID-19 outbreak at first with Gobert. And, is Donovan Mitchell going to be that next star who demands a trade? Then it got died down. It became more normalized for guys to get COVID. It turns out Gobert was just the first one. And it wasn't as egregious as it looked at the time. And so, okay, maybe things have calmed down. They get the one seed. This is great. This is the most random curveball out of nowhere that they would have this big of a disagreement that they hold him out, even though he says he's ready to go. All of his teammates feel like they're ready to go. And maybe part of the reason why the Jazz lose game one is because the team is preparing to have their flamethrower, their superstar on offense back. And then all of a sudden, right before the game, they have the rug pulled out from under them. And so why was Donovan Mitchell allowed to go on Twitter and say, I'm all in for game one. I'll see you guys tonight, if the decision hadn't been made? Or was he told, yes, you are in? So he says, okay, I'm tweeting. Or did he believe that he had the authority to go ahead and make that call himself? Either way, there was a serious disconnect, right? Either he was told, yes, you are allowed to play, you're clear to play, or he believed that the call was on him. And so when all of that got switched on him, he felt disrespected, clearly. And the team goes from thinking they're going to have their star offensive player in to not. And that rattled them a bit. And so they lose game one. So, if you're a Utah Jazz fan, you're hoping that this doesn't turn into a first-round exit or into any sort of ugly exit, because clearly there's some friction here. And could that lead to a trade demand. He just signed an extension, so he's really got very little leverage to demand a trade. But you never know in this climate. We didn't think that James Harden could demand a trade, but he did, and it worked. And so if you're not a fan of the Jazz, then you're hoping that this thing just goes real south and that this thing crashes and burns. Because if you're not a fan of the Jazz, then maybe Donovan Mitchell could be on your team. And there's all sorts of teams that could want him. The teams that are set up for a star, to bring in a star, are teams like the New York Knicks. All the teams with lots of picks, like the New Orleans Pelicans, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So we'll see what happens. Maybe a star trade happens where, what if the Clippers and the Jazz lose in round one? And what if the Clippers say, what if we give you Paul George plus another asset for a young Donovan Mitchell? And you have a swap of two stars on big long-term contracts, and you swap them that way. There's a lot of different things that could happen, but ultimately this could turn out to be nothing. All that the Jazz need to do is make sure either he plays or he doesn't play, but either way, you're on the same page at least, because clearly they were not even on the same page with their star player. And he gets up that day. He gets himself emotionally ready. He hasn't played in this whole time. He's so ready. He's got himself in that mindset. And then right before the game, they pull the rug out from under him. I understand how he was so upset. And so I wish that the chat was on, guys. I'm sorry about this. I don't know how that happened. I'm going to click edit, go to live chat, enable chat. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Either way, guys. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just not seeing the chat. That's all good. So anyway, I wish that we could do questions and stuff, but I don't see the chat. I know some of you are probably going to ask for my reaction to Trae Young. I thought Trae was very, very good. Trae, obviously, I'm a notorious Trae doubter. I'm not a big believer in Trae Young. I called him the most overrated player this year. And Trae was good last night. I think he only shot 3 threes. Maybe he made 3 threes. Either way, he didn't take many, but he still controlled the game largely. Obviously, he hits the game winner in overtime. But I would just say, Trae Young saying it's quiet as F in here after the game, talking trash. I get he says that because they were saying F you, Trae Young, in Madison Square Garden. So he says, oh, it's quiet as F in here. It's like, dude, would you not talk trash after your first playoff game? I think of like Kobe. And when the media is asking Kobe, hey, Kobe, you're up 2-0 in a series. Like, why are you not smiling at all? You seem so serious. And he says, yeah, job's not finished. I'm not even going to smile. And then you have this guy who's talking trash after his first game. Okay, dude, you just beat the Knicks where their star Julius Randle had a horrible game. And like it was a Knicks team led by Alec Burks. And you had to win in overtime. And you're going to talk trash? Like, really? So, look, it's just, and believe me, he hit the game winner. Trae Young fans are going to have their day on Twitter telling me I told you so, you were wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I'll take that hit because they won the game and he hit the game winner. So I'm not going to, I don't really, my prediction isn't totally 100% here. But at the same time, it's like, dude, read the room. It's your first playoff win. Just settle down, bud. Who knows what's going to happen? So I wish that we had the chat so we could talk. I don't know how this happened. I really don't. If anyone does, hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. Okay, we'll do live check-ins after big moments. So it's good. See you guys at 5 p.m. for today's video.